I am reconvening the November 4th election night edition of the Livingston Board of Education. Can we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Charles. Present. Mr. Cohen.
Here.
Mrs. Gong. Giving Dan a second to.
Not in right now.
Okay.
All right.
Mrs. Kemka. Here. Mrs. Yelisevich. Here. And Mr. Cohen.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. All yours, sir.
Okay. So each year we put together some budget goals. Believe it or not, we start the school year, and in October, the administrators and cost centers receive a memo from Jess, the BA, to start the process for next year's budget. So if Dan could put up the budget goals. So we really have 5 goals, which are similar to last year's, which makes sense. The first one has to do with facilities and the need to improve our facilities for educational purposes, but also for the expanding enrollment that we have. You know, it's no secret that there is quite a bit of high density housing being put up now, and plans for it. So the district needs to start to plan accordingly. The supporting our curriculum. You know, we always monitor our curriculum and develop new curriculum and improve what we have, so that we make sure that we maintain our great educational program in our schools. Third goal really has to do with celebrating what makes us all unique, and making sure that, our students, are exposed to each other's uniqueness, and making sure that our students are also healthy. The fourth goal on the next page has to do with security improvements. You'll see when we present a plan for a referendum, there'll be some parts of that referendum that have to do with security. And then continue to provide access to high quality programs, really provide guidance necessary to assist our families in the future planning for their own children.
Thank you. Let me just start by saying I appreciate these goals very much. They are directly tied to our overall board goals, and they are clearly in line with the needs of this district, and, personally believe that they should provide you and team well into the planning process and obviously into the 26-27 school year. So let me open it up for any questions or comments.
I agree with you and don't have any additional questions.
Okay.
I agree. Thank you for these.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
All right. And now I get to introduce Natalie, going to go over our NJSLA and DLM scores. She'll explain exactly what they are.
But very efficiently, because some people are football fans and other people are pool watchers, and we are trying to be very quick today. So it's my pleasure to be here this evening to talk to you about the NJSLA and the DLM that were administered this past spring. This is a little bit of history about both, about the SLA assessment. So this past May, students in grades 3 through 9 were tested in English language arts literacy, and then students in 3 through 8 in math, and then any students in the high school who were taking Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. And then the science assessment was given to grades 5, 8, and 11. So we'll be talking about that. And also important to note that this is the end of the NJSLA. This is the last batch of data from that test. And we are, as we speak, in the middle of a field test for the new assessment, which is called NJSLA, but adaptive. We'll talk more about that when those test scores come around next year. So this is the last blast for this test. We have continued the work that we've been doing with data teams in the schools and in the district, really taking to heart the fact that if we're going to spend all this time giving these assessments, that we ought to really examine the results of them. And so both at school and district level, teams have been established to examine the data and to figure out what the actionable steps from those data will be. And so that is work that you've heard about before, and that is continuing to make sure that there's something productive that comes from the time that is allocated to this. Dan, if we could go to the next slide. The work really centers around this idea of, first, let's understand what has happened. What does it make you wonder about? And then what can it tell us about comparison to previous years? And then also let's look at cohorts over time. So we'll do a little bit of that today, looking at this year's performance in comparison to previous years, and then a cohort of students from one year to the next. Our participation has been outstanding, and so much so that we even tested new kids who moved into the district, which is why in a number of these circumstances you're seeing the participation in excess of 100%. So, October 15th is kind of the date of record every year for a school district. That's when the enrollment is captured. And so if you're looking and it's over 100, it means there were more people who want to live here and learn here, and their scores were captured as well. And then we'll be looking again, there are 5 levels of performance that were established in the NJSLA. We'll be looking at students who have met or exceeded expectations, who are at levels 4 and 5 on this test. This represents our ELA results. The bars in green are the Livingston results in the 24 year in comparison to Livingston results in the 25 year. And they are also held in comparison to the state results in the 24 year, the lighter blue, and the darker blue, the state results in the 25 year. And so we continue to overwhelmingly exceed what the state percentages are. And when we look at our performance in comparison to ourselves, there was growth in more than 50% of the grade levels and slight dips in 3 of those grade levels. And then in math, sort of same setup for the graph as well. And once again, the performance of our students guided by their teachers overwhelmingly exceeds that of the state. The one kind of highlight that we continue, there's still work to do in the grade 8 math, but we've been talking about that for a while. But you can start to see now the, impact of some of these interventions that have been put in place in grade 8 math. And we are, we're just pleased and celebrating the fact that those interventions that have been put into place are bearing fruit. The science are on this graph, sort of same setup with the 2 colors. And you can see that grade 5 held steady. In grade 8 and grade 11, there was an increase in the student performance in those grade levels. And that is a pleasure for us to see as well. This has continued to be a tricky test across the state. And it's always nice to see that, the work that we're doing has been bearing fruit in terms of an increase in the scores. This test will not be changing. So this one, and will not turn into an adaptive test right away. I don't know what their plans are for that, but this one is going to stay, kind of the same way that they've been administering it. Okay, the coat of many colors. So the cohort analysis, you read diagonally, and so you follow a color from one year to the next, starting in grade 3. If you follow, whether it's the red going down diagonally or the orange or the yellow, but you can follow basically because our population is fairly stable. The majority of our students who are here stay here with us year over year. You can follow their performance over time. And so the wonderful thing that you can see here is the growth that happens for a cohort of students over time. 2 of the grade levels you can see have stayed level. They've maintained their performance. And there is that in the last year's grade 9 kids, there was a little dip. And it looks like that was due to the reading of literature and the reading of science and technology texts. So that I think is something that we'll be continuing to put some effort into to see, to make sure that students have exposure to those kinds of texts that, they can develop those skills a little bit. And then likewise in math, same situation with the way to read the graph. The increase in the grade levels at the top is really wonderful to see. We stop this graph at the midway point because our math sequence begins to diverge in terms of students who are taking different levels of math. So it's not really a fair comparison to look at the numbers in the same way as students, break off into those various courses. The DLM assessment is given to students who have significant disabilities. And so you can see a very small number of students is tested in this. Their scale for performance is different than the one that we've just been looking at. You see the emerging approaching target category and the students who are at target and advanced. And you can see what the performance of those students is there. And then an opportunity to look, and this is something that is always a particular focus for us, is to see not only the total population of students, but also what does it look like when we take a look at the various groups. And so when we take a look, the 2 state performance bars are to the left of the chart. Our district are the next 2 green bars. So again, you see our performance in comparison to that of the state, and then the breakdown of students across the district who have economic disadvantage, students with IEPs, students with 504, and students who are Ls. And I think the thing to always kind of make sure of, it's hard to talk about this in a setting like this, because the question that you have is,
I see the state totals now.
oh,
They're there.
sorry, they're not a different color.
Oh,
Thank
Yeah.
you. It's difficult to interpret.
Yes, I'm sorry. Perhaps I should have recolored them to match. But the totals of these groups are small, and so in comparison to the district total, and so changes in the performance of small numbers can really have a disproportionate effect. And so when a school team or the district team is able to dig deeper into it, we can begin to unearth sort of what's underneath all of that and what is happening. But it's obviously not something that would be spoken about in a venue like this. But I do want to assure you that is, those are conversations that happen, and trying to understand, are they students who have just moved in? Is this something that they haven't benefited from curriculum over time, that kind of thing, that is impacting, the percentages that you see and the fluctuation? Or is there something else that speaks to a need to look at training or curriculum or that kind of thing? So there's the same chart. Sorry for the state stuff, but the two state columns, again, to the leftmost, the district columns are next. And then the same breakout of the groups with the economically disadvantaged, the IEP, the 504, and the Ls. So moving forward, the work that we have been doing to implement a universal screener is really essential because this is like it's a one-shot deal. This is like a dipstick that you put into the car. But if you have a leak and you're not monitoring what's happening on your driveway in between, you're going to have a problem. The universal screener is the thing that helps us monitor all the in-between parts. And so that is an assessment that we give multiple times during the course of the year. And it provides information to teachers that really helps them to develop a small group environment for students, really to plan instruction that is geared to what the students' needs are, and allows for an approach that varies from teaching to the whole class or figuring out whether you need to have a smaller group or even a one-on-one approach through the tiers of instruction. The data teams kind of jump right on this stuff as soon as we get it, and that continues to be a process that happens as the universal screener has happened. They have convened to take a look at their data from NJSLA, then to compare it to what they get from the STAR Renaissance assessment, and really figure out a plan so that it's not a situation where every individual teacher is having to figure it out on her own, but that the school together is gathering about how best to approach. In science, we're continuing to implement the Open SciEd curriculum at the elementary grades, and we're using this platform called Inner Orbit that helps us really understand student performance in a standardized way in that class. And so that, again, is something that happens in conjunction with the supervisor and the other district staff. 95% is the phonics program that we have in place in K2. And so that is something that's continuing to be implemented and worked on, really emphasizing those building blocks of literacy, that phonemic awareness, the phonics that are so essential to being able to learn to read fluently. And so lots of PD and lots of work has gone into supporting teachers as they're learning to use that. Math in Focus is now in 7th grade. And so we're continuing to support teachers with professional development so that as they're making their way through the full, first full year of the program at that level, they're receiving the tools and support with which to navigate all that. And then K6 continuing, we're sort of at this interesting point of we've stopped new implementation at the elementary level. And it's time once again to revisit, as staff has turned over, as there may have been changes or people have moved to different grade levels, let's again come back and make sure, can we give you a booster shot of Singapore pedagogy and making sure that you're feeling comfortable with implementing the program at your particular grade level. And that's it, I think.
Thank you. Well,
Yep.
it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
I know I have questions. Does anyone?
We'll start from there. I had one question about, maybe you mentioned this in the ELA total and subgroup, change LL between last year and this year. Was that did you make a reference to this before? Or just
Only that the numbers in the group, because students exit every year,
Okay.
the end number, the total number of kids can make such a big difference, and so if you end up in a given year with a huge number of students who have just gotten here, they are exempted in their first year, but they might not be super strong in their English yet. They're still acquiring once they start taking this test. And so that sometimes can suppress. But as one batch leaves, if you get new ones that come who are still learning the ropes, this kind of stuff can happen,
the numbers is that much different compared to others. So it's kind
Right. And yeah, it might be a situation where in one year there's like a number of 40 that you're looking at, and in next year it might be like 20. And so all of a sudden, the impact of every single one of those 20 is like outsized in comparison to the year before.
The ELL part is actually grades 3 to 8.
This is everyone that took an ELA test.
And that's.
So ELLs, when they enter, are exempted in their first year, but every year after their first year, they're counted. And then former Ls continue to count towards that number too. But once you're not a 2-year former, your score falls out of the pool of L scores.
But it includes everybody from grade 3 to 8.
All the way through high school, through 9.
High school.
Yeah. Through 9. Yeah.
Sorry, I skipped you.
That's okay. On slide 10 in the ELA, mentioned that there's a slight dip from the grade 8 to grade 9, and you were doing some things to address that. Can you just go into a little bit more detail about?
So this is where the fact that we are in excess of the state, it gets hard with this tool. So we have to use other tools to figure it out. But the only places where we were either they were comparatively lower were in the reading of scientific and technical text. And there was one question that was on the reading of literature that all 500 kids took. And for some reason, it was a scooch lower. It's still above what the state is doing, but it's a scooch lower than is the norm for us. So it begs the question about whether the question itself was not fair, or should we be evaluating that, this thing? We hit the limit of what it can tell us. We have to go back into the standards and kind of say, okay, are we asking the right kinds of questions? If we are, then maybe they just gave us a weird passage. But the scientific and technical thing might be a situation where we need to look at making sure that within those content areas, they're having a text that they're having to apply their, decoding skills to. So, I don't know if that's enough, but.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. In the Singapore math, you mentioned professional development. You mean just focusing on professional development for staff and not any change in the program, just in the training?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's been some years, for example, since the kindergarten teachers had, they were getting trained during the return from COVID and all this kind of stuff. And you're doing smaller types of sessions, but we've kind of thrown ourselves again into, let's make sure the whole grade level gets this. Let's make sure that they feel confident and secure as they move forward.
We've been focusing so much on training new grade levels that are implementing math in focus. We've got to make sure that we're not doing this in a one-shot deal, and that we're continuing to support teachers, who have now been with it for a while. We start to then, judge the training.
Okay. And are you satisfied that the program is demonstrating that students are growing in math differently than with the previous programs that we had in place?
I am confident in the work that we're doing now. I'd be lying if I told you that I was as well versed in our previous scores before, but you're seeing the improvement, of the kids as they're, reaching those grade levels are starting to come through. They're more prepared for the next level of math as well.
Thank you.
So can we just go to the ELA total subgroup, 24 versus 25? I think it's slide 12 and 13 or 13 and 14.
The yellow?
This one.
That's it.
Oh.
So I struggle with this a little bit. And in the sense that, there are some subcategories that are less than even the state totals. And I remember seeing that sort of as even earlier in our scores, that being the trend. I'm wondering if we have tapped into any high impact tutoring grants for these particular groups so that we can actually look at, because there's a lot of that floating around. and there is money to actually help groups which may not be performing as well. And the other thing is, yes, we're seeing a slight increase, slight decrease, but overall, we've kind of seen this percentage. And can you speak to that a little bit? Like what we're seeing, what we're learning, if whatever we're learning is changing how we are addressing these particular groups?
So to answer your first question, we have not applied for a new high impact tutoring grant.
But we've had high impact tutoring.
Yeah, we have had 2 tranches of funding that came from that. I'm not aware of whether they were talking last year about having a new one, but the last time I checked the DOE website about a month ago, I didn't see anything on there. But I certainly have been looking. And I think the story of this partially is the size of the student groups. The body of groups is smaller than the thousands of kids who take the other tests. So that is a piece of it. So it's this outsized, their performance is much more capable of, fluctuating. But I think the other piece of it is, it comes back, we've been talking with Maura about making sure that our co-teaching practices are up to date and people are really taking advantage of 2 people in the room. And we've been talking about how the various programs that we have resources that can support the student learning. And that, I think, is really the place where we'd like to put our interest, because the challenge with the tutoring is if kids don't come after school and you can't mandate the coming after school, then you're stuck, so it's got to really happen in those classroom environments. So I think we're enthusiastic and optimistic about the things that we will be able to do, together as we re-examine all the practices that are in place. And it's a story that's unfinished. It is something that is going to be, a project always, because it is very oftentimes a population that they require real focus on the part of teachers and interventionists and and all the brains to kind of figure out what is the best way, because it might work for some of them and it might not work for someone else.
If I may, I think exactly to the point you're making, the numbers fluctuate based on small populations, and there are, 1, 2, 3 students can change that number dynamically. And what we need to do is make sure that we're doing what's best for each kid. Like you have the total numbers here, and students with IEPs, are we making sure that we are meeting that student's needs? Are we making sure that we're meeting that student with the 504's needs as well? I think one of the things that we're particularly proud of, and again, we're in our third year of doing so, is with the implementation of this universal screener, to be able to look at the skills tracing of each student. And as we continue to, focus on creating time for small group instruction within the classroom setting to address some of the skills that students need to, be performing, up to the standard. That's the work that we are doing and that we have to continue to do, in a really strong level. And that's really where our partnership is growing.
So the screener, right? It's obviously being given to children who are sort of in a general ed setting. Is it being given to everybody across the board?
Yes.
Yes.
So every child, even in a sub-separate classroom, is getting the screener?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I would actually really love to see some, if there has been, what shifts have been in terms of practices. And I would love to learn more about what shifts you have made in light of what we have seen.
Yeah.
I think that
And I think we'll be ready in January, February. Like the kids have taken it for the first time in September. In January, they'll have kind of the midway point. We're planning to convene all of our data teams together at that point to do some examination of the information. And then I think probably we'll be able to share something with you at that point.
Can I ask a last question?
Sure, of course.
The
last question.
No, my last question. The adaptive field test.
Mhm.
And I know that, can you talk a little bit about it? Because there's a lot of discussion around it. So just want everybody, like more,
Talk a very little bit about it.
whatever little bit you know about.
Sure. The premise of it is that the reason they're calling it adaptive is it is meant to, when it's like actually implemented for real in the spring, that students will respond, say, to a question, and based on their response to that question, the next question will either get harder or slightly easier. And what it's trying to do, I think probably in a way that's similar to the DLM that kind of like creates this web of like student understanding. I think what it's trying to do is find your just right level. So if you're struggling in a particular thing, but you're doing very well in a different particular thing, it's going to try to like isolate what are your strengths and what are your areas of weakness. So we'll see, because right now they're just testing the test. Like we're not going to get a single report. We're not going to get any data. There's some psychometrician in Trenton or somewhere else that is going to be, I'm sure, salivating at all the data that they gather from all of this.
They give you a top line report at all?
Nothing. It's like very scary.
Simply,
Yeah. And I have to say that they've never done this in 1 year.
I didn't realize.
They usually give a field test in a particular spring.
Right.
And the following spring,
Yes.
they give the
Yes.
field test. So the fact that we're doing everything right on its heels is a little like unnerving.
That be
But at
explained,
least
but
there's a lot of work to get it ready.
that be explained to parents that the test your kids are being taken,
yeah.
they'll never know the
Yes.
results.
I mean, it went home in the letter. Maybe nobody reads our letters, but it's, but yeah.
We have a parent saying no.
Like,
I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, why would I put my child through a test that there will be no value to them to?
well,
Say that-
I mean, you're getting practice at taking it, but I can't sell you on anything other than that. There's a practice test online. If people want to go online and take it, they don't have to sit in this thing, but
Expose them to the.
yeah, to the platform, it looks
Respect that.
different, like all that kind of stuff. But no,
Things.
yes. And there are people who are saying, yeah, this is not for us. You know what I mean?
I have heard, principals talking to the kids and saying, tomorrow we're going to take this test. There is nothing to be stressed about. You're not going to get scores on this. This is for us to test the test and for you to see what the test is looking like. Mr. Mohammed made that announcement. But before they went, it's, we.
So again, if this is going to be applied in spring,
Mhm.
are they actually going to send us something so that we understand how this compares to the data that we've collected all this time?
They say there is, I
Yeah.
don't know statistically how they can.
I know. And that's what I keep wondering. So what they've done in the past when they institute a new test is it's a tabula rasa, clean slate, but like you're starting again from the beginning. So I don't know. I mean, I truly don't know what to tell you yet.
Brings me to, do you have a question? Then
Go
I'll
ahead.
ask my last question.
Go ahead. No,
No,
go
no,
ahead. No, seriously.
So triangulating the data,
Mhm.
right? Have we come up with a good method of that web of data that we can extrapolate from for seeing student achievement? Like, how do we do that?
Well, I mean, at the elementary schools where that universal screener is in place, it's happening in a sort of very systematic way because they have the data point from, whether it's the DRA assessment, whether it's from the universal screener, whether it's from the SLA, that all is coming together in a way that allows you to have a pretty good sense of where a student is. It's not, the 1 day result from a kid who got out of bed on the wrong side and just wasn't it wasn't working. We've all had those days where it just doesn't come together. So I think by having that kind of experience replicated in other places where you've got whether it's the, sort of informal quiz in the school in comparison to this, in comparison to, any other assessment that is given by the teacher, putting those heads together is the place where, those conversations are happening at the table.
Okay.
Before I ask anything, let me just see, Mrs. Gong, if you have any questions.
I had the same questions as Pam and Peru about the math and the ELA, but Natalie already explained everything, so I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So good news is they asked a good amount of my questions too. I'm very happy to see the grade 8 improvement. I know that I like to talk about grade 8 math. I do want to talk about grade 6.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I fully recognize we are at the top of the scale and these are small percentages and can be a function of, size of the class and all those kinds of things. But when I see a slight dip in the ELA score, when we see growth in 3 through 5 and we see growth at the state level, and the same thing on the math side, and that math side is super small dip, but there is growth at the state level. There's growth in our district in the grades prior. This is less of a question to you and more of a, let's just make sure that that's not the start of a pattern in grade 6, that we need to explore the curriculum at grade 6.
Yeah.
And again, I recognize we're talking about small percentage changes off of a base.
Is that the difference between math and focus? Just a new shift?
It was their first full year of.
That's what I'm thinking.
So
That's what
you don't I can't say for sure, but
it's
probably had some kind of an impact, but.
And that's also comparing last year's grade 6 to this year's grade 6. When you look at the cohort, they held pretty steady.
Yeah, again, I'm just asking, there are dips there. It's
Right, you want to,
it's obvious
as an early
build.
kind of tickler.
And let's just make sure that we are focused there and not losing
Fair point.
grade 6. Okay, moving on.
All right. The superintendent survey. Give Dan a chance to do it. Okay, so earlier in the fall, we sent out a survey to students, staff, parents, and community, and those are the return survey numbers. I think that's very good for return. I think if we did, interviews, we wouldn't have gotten that many people, and not everyone in those situations, big group meetings, feel comfortable to speak. So I'll go through this fairly quickly. With the students, the advantage that we have is, they're in our buildings and we can remind them to take it and cut, it really was a 5 or 10 minute survey for students. So we could carve out that time and remind them to take it. When you look at the word cloud, these are some of the words that came up repeatedly with what they really like about the schools. And then if we go to the next slide, these are qualities that they'd like to see in the next superintendent: listening to students and value their opinions, making schools welcoming, safe, and inclusive. And you could read the rest of those. Here are some things that students feel could make the district better. Nothing there is shocking. Homework, student opinion, lunch and food, clubs and extracurricular activities. And then when we continue on those things, mental health and stress and well-being, bullying and rude behavior and respect. And that's certainly something we teach in our schools and partner with families on that. If we go to the staff responses, okay, and you look at the word cloud there, I think that's great to see, student in the center. And then, the words there that are, that the staff feels are strengths that we should share with the next superintendent. And then the qualities for the next superintendent: advocate for staff well-being and professional needs, integrity and transparency, and collaborative decision maker who values teamwork. And then you can see the rest of the qualities and skills. Priorities: schools facility expansion and improvements, high quality teaching, teachers and staff, school safety, fiscal responsibility, and resource management. And as you can see by, the budget goals and the district goals that we have, they are in line with what we got from staff. Here are some of the challenges: student population growth, overcrowding, infrastructure, space limitations. I think those are all related. And then finally, if we move to the parents, okay, in all three areas, student was, front and center, academics, teacher, and the school itself. Leadership skills. In the next slide, you can see proven instructional leader, focusing on teaching, and of course the superintendent, partners in this, with the assistant superintendents, the directors, and especially the building level administrators, and most importantly, the supervisors. Visionary leader who can set long-term direction, strong communicator, visible and approachable. And then priorities for the next superintendent: high quality teachers and staff, academic achievement and curriculum experience, student social and emotional well-being, and communication with families, facilities, safety, and technology. Here are some of the areas, some of the comments, we sorted this stuff through AI, which is very helpful instead of reading 1,400 surveys. And these are some of the areas that came up. So as we've been talking about, tomorrow we will be posting for the search for the new superintendent, based on this information, based on the input that we received from the board. And we'll share our progress along the way.
Thank you. Let me first say on behalf of the board how appreciative we are of the 1,600 students and 400 plus staff members and 1,400 plus members of the community. How did I do there?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
All from memory. It is not in front of me. For filling this out. It is important. We value it and we are using it. As Dr. Fishbein mentioned, it has helped us craft the profile and posting that will go live tomorrow, and it will help us in our evaluation moving forward. So we are deeply appreciative of all of that feedback, and of course, appreciative of all of the time it took to sort through all of that feedback. So thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Just to add, also reading through the raw data was very helpful. So thank you for providing that too.
Just one question. The distribution of students, are these mostly high schoolers or?
These are 6 through 12. I think sixth grade, pretty much the whole sixth grade did it.
Yeah.
Oh, the whole sixth grade did
If you
it?
look through the raw data.
Yeah, you'll see it.
Yeah, I was seeing that, but I obviously did not summarize it on my end.
Yeah.
But, and what percentage would you say was like high schoolers? And if high schoolers, I mean like.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Probably a third. It's probably a third.
A third of each?
It's majority middle schoolers.
Yeah, they did it in class. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Middle schools had an opportunity to do it in school.
Okay.
But at the high school level, they did repeated announcements to remind them.
Yep.
Students, when you did the survey, the reminders only went out to people who did not
Right, complete it.
complete it. So I think there was 2 or 3 reminders that went out.
Too, yeah. Okay, if I just say one thing or 2 things?
Yes.
First of all, I want to give a shout out to Natalie Topilco, who
Yes.
helped immensely with Qualtrics survey and data analysis and the wordles that you saw up there. Tony McLaughlin and Michelle Bent as well. They were instrumental in doing a lot of this. I just want to reiterate that applications are due on November 26th, 2025. We'll be posting it online on our website as well as with school boards, NJASA, and NJASBO as well. So it'll be posted on Google, njschooljobs.com, but we're not,
LinkedIn, social media.
LinkedIn, yeah, so social media on Facebook, but we're not planning on posting it in the paper or in Ed Week at this time.
So it's just 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like 3
Mhm.
weeks. Okay.
Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mrs. Berman.
Thank you, Natalie, for all your help with that. We appreciate it. And thank you for taking on this monstrous task. I really do appreciate having this kind of feedback. Everybody, I think, especially our student volunteer too. So thank you, everybody.
I'm impressed that the students provided more feedback than the parents.
Mhm.
I was a little bit surprised. I didn't think the number.
I think it's the first time we've gone out to
Right?
students. for
I didn't expect
That's
that
amazing.
number to be.
I really like that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move us forward to board reports. Are there any board reports this evening? I just wanted to thank the district for the invitation to the fireworks and drone show, and on behalf of the board, thank, and I hope I pronounced his last name correctly, Mr. Majaro. Figaro. I apologize very much. That event was spectacular, and I happen to know one of the students personally who is in the stagecraft class, and the value that he took from it was immense. So, yes, witnessing those things was awesome, but more importantly, the lesson that was brought to those students was incredible. And so on behalf of the board, I just wanted to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Moving us forward, we are at my favorite part of the board meeting.
All right, I just wanted to talk about what's been going on the past 3 weeks, which is not many complaints. I think that I haven't heard anything negative. Everyone's been pretty happy. Very impressed with the survey results on students. I told you I tried to push that out. So, I mean, obviously you said more 6th graders and more middle school students, but I hope that enough high school students.
Oh, yeah.
There were a good number.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
No, your efforts were not wasted.
Well, in terms of the high school and things that have been going on, we had a really successful homecoming dance at the end of October, which was great. Michelle, who's our spirit coordinator, she did a very good job helping out with that and planning it. So just thank you for that. And we also have Halloween, obviously. Everyone dressed up and was very respectful of the rules. Everyone's been very respectful throughout the halls and just throughout the whole building at school. So I'm very pleased with that. And I think so is Mr. Mohammed. And our sports teams have been doing very successful. I was at the football game on Friday night, and they're doing very successful. They obviously won their game. And so I also heard girls soccer is doing very well, cross country. Yeah, I heard sports are doing very well, and I'm very pleased. Everyone's very happy. So I'm happy.
You keep bringing that here. That things will be easy here and in social media.
Don't say anything on social media.
Moving us forward to public comment. The public comment period is now open. The rules of public comment are on the podium and posted. The timer is on the wall. Is there any, or will be on the wall? Is there any public comment in the room? Is there any public comment online? There is one and only one public comment period.
Oh, there's one.
Ms. Amin.
Hi, Michelle Amin, 6 Washington Court. I wanted to bring attention to something that we talked about a long time ago, which is lab that happens on half days and delayed openings, and also the lab period that's used not for lab, but for extended classroom. Like, it just feels that if lab is happening during lunchtime and lunchtime is the kids' socialization time, if the lab is happening for the sake of lab, great. If it's happening for extra classroom time, I'd like that to be reconsidered. And then certainly on Monday is a perfect example. My son had lab, and so he had like, by the time he arrived, had lab, went to the cafeteria for food, it was like less than 10 minutes. So maybe there needs to be a little bit of consideration on those days when they are shortened periods to potentially eliminate lab for those days, even though, yes, I value what lab is doing and the place that it holds in our science curriculum. I just would like it to not feel like my kid's lunch period has been eaten up and he doesn't have a break from class to class. That's all I got. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other comments online? Seeing none, are there any other comments in the room?
I'm not prepared and I didn't brush my hair. All right, so Amber McWaugh, I don't know the rules. Cool.
Township.
Oh, Livingston. So I'm here on behalf of the cheerleaders at Livingston High School. My daughter is a captain of the JV team. She's cheered since Junior Lancers. I used to direct the Junior Lancer program. And there is a big concern about pay. And I'm not sure if this is the forum to even address it, but the pay of the high school coaches and them not getting fair pay across the state. And there's fear amongst the cheerleaders. See, look, I'm half nervous. Fear amongst the cheerleaders that the head coaches and the assistant coaches are going to leave. And if they leave, they don't want to cheer. And if we don't have cheerleaders, the football games are going to be less fun. And so I just wanted to bring that in front of the board so that that could be something that you guys look at for next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments in the room? Seeing no other comments here or online, I'm going to close public comment. Just forward in our agenda to item 3, business. Can I have a motion on 3.1?
So moved.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Charles?
Yes.
Mrs. Gong?
Yes.
Mrs. Kemka?
Yes.
Mrs. Yelisevich?
Yes.
And Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving forward to item 4, personnel. Can I have a motion on 4.1 through 4.7, please?
So moved. Second.
Any questions or comments? I will just comment thanking the district for all of its incredible work, in particular to Bertha for her amazing work in hiring 3 bus drivers in this one agenda. We are very thankful for that, and the community is thankful for that as well. Any other comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Charles?
Yes.
Mrs. Gong?
Yes.
Mrs. Kemka?
Yes.
Mrs. Yelisevich?
Yes.
And Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving forward to item 5, miscellaneous. Can I have a motion on 5.1 and 5.2, please?
So moved. Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Charles?
Yes.
Mrs. Gong?
Yes.
Mrs. Kemka?
Yes.
Mrs. Yelisevich?
Yes.
And Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Are there any items of old business this evening? Are there any items of new business this evening? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Bye.
45 seconds until polls close.
If you didn't vote.